So it also sounds like that's the basis for the transformation pyramid.
Yeah, when I was looking at Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the 5 levels, and I was trying to figure out how to translate this as a model for a company, what I started to see is that there were 3 key themes. There's this theme at the bottom of the pyramid about survival, your physiological needs and your safety needs, the 2 bottom levels of Maslow's five levels. That was about survival. A step above that was success. And these took the 3rd and the 4th level of Maslow's pyramid, social belonging needs and esteem needs. So when you're actually feeling like you're connected to someone else, that social belonging need, or you're feeling high self-esteem, you're feeling successful. Mm-hmm. The top of the pyramid, though, is something that's sort of magical, and that's where transformation occurs. So someone who's in a self-actualized state is sort of in a transformed state. So the transformation pyramid of survival, succeed, transform is really the way I look at life now when I walk down the street, but it's definitely how I look at organizations in terms of, okay, what is the survival experience for an employee or for a customer or for an investor, and similarly, what's the success experience and what's the transformation experience?
So let's talk about the transformation pyramids as they relate to employees.
Sure.
Before we do that, let's talk about self-actualization. It's an interesting term, it's a lofty term, but what we're really describing are transient periods of peak experience.
The best way for me to make it real for people and not too lofty and not too new age is to go back to the U.S. Army.
Okay.
The U.S. Army for 15 years had an ad campaign that they actually learned from Maslow. They had a group within the Army that studied Maslow and self-actualization. And you've heard the ad campaign, be all you can be. That's the best way for me to describe what self-actualization means. It means the idea that someone is living their potential in the actuality of how they exist in the world, whether it's through their work or through their home life, their spiritual life, whatever they're doing. And so when I'm thinking about our company being all it can be, and our individuals within the company being all they can be, there's really sort of a merger there of saying when you create an organization where everybody is being all they can be, it's helping the organization be all it can be. So self-actualization, as lofty as it sounds, is really just a great business model. It's a model that says we're living up to our potential.
And I think one of the concepts for me that also applies in today's business environment is the idea that I'm focused on the present, on now, on what's happening in this moment. I'm not terribly worried about what's going to happen next. I'm not overly worried about what's happened before, but I'm able to be in the moment fully, that sense of flow or being in the zone.
Yeah, there are a lot of ways that people describe self-actualization. Flow, in the zone, in the moment. That's true, but I want to make sure that people don't think that somehow this is this sort of airy-fairy thing that is all about just feeling what it feels like in the moment.
Right.
If you're a good business person, you do look at what happened in the past and what you learned from it, mm-hmm. and you've got to be able to predict the future. What I think self-actualization does, it does help people see that when you are in the moment with what you're doing and it's actually helping inspire you and to be better at what you do, that it helps the future. There's no doubt about that. And so I think that's an important piece of it. If you spend too much of your time just focusing on the future, you have the risk in getting very fearful and full of performance anxiety, and in a place where in the present you're actually quite miserable with what you're doing. Mm-hmm. And I think that's what happens in a recession. Is in a recession, the present moment may be terrible, but in some ways what's most worrisome in a recession is how much worse is it going to get. Mm-hmm. And as people start focusing on that future and the uncertainty around the future and the fear around it, it actually stunts their ability to actually do their jobs in the present.